Selamat berjumpa dengan Yan di channel Morat Marit. Yang kalian lihat sedang lompat-lompat ini adalah kenalanku. Dia adalah seorang YouTuber, channelnya bernama Zarambah Trip Channel. Maunya dia berkunjung ke rumah aku, tapi dia salah alamat, akhirnya kesasar seperti ini. Seharusnya dia harus telepon aku dulu, ngasih tahu lah biar nggak kesasar. Tapi besoknya kita bisa ketemu dan dia mampir ke rumah aku. Sewaktu dia ada di rumah, aku minta tolong ke dia untuk mengambilkan video sewaktu aku nonton Warta berita ini. Nah, video ini yang mengambil adalah dia. Silahkan simak. Dan link video dia, channelnya Zarambah Trip Channel ini ada di deskripsi di bawah video aku ini. Silahkan berkunjung ke channel dia ya. Nah, inilah aku sedang nonton Warta berita. Video ini aku ambil kemarin, hari Minggu. Sedang layeh-layeh nonton Warta berita di channel CNN. Aku senang dengan penyiarnya ini. Namanya Farid Zakaria. Setiap minggu dia menyiarkan Warta berita dan menganalisa apa yang terjadi di dunia kita ini. Aku ingin mengajak kalian sama-sama mengaji, mempelajari apa yang terjadi, apa yang sedang terjadi di dunia ini. Sambil sekalian kita sama-sama belajar bahasa Inggris. Bila kita sering mendengarkan siaran TV dalam bahasa Inggris, lama-lama kita juga bisa mengerti bahasa Inggris. Silahkan simak videonya.
Halo, selamat malam Indonesia. Di Indonesia malam ya, di sini masih siang. Aku akan ajak kalian nonton Warta berita di sini, CNN. Aku setuju sekali dengan analisa Farid ini ya. Dia mengatakan yang mana Donald Trump itu mempunyai insting. Jadi kalau politisi hanya berdasarkan ideologi aja ya, bisa berantem terus ya. Tapi kalau ini Donald Trump menggunakan dia punya insting dan bagaimana harus menyelesaikan persoalan dunia ini. Semoga saja antara Presiden Donald Trump dengan Presiden Xi bisa merubah dunia ini menjadi nyaman lagi. Nah, silahkan simak analisa dari Farid Zakaria ini ya. Oke, ini dia.
All of you in the United States and around the world, I'm Farid Zakaria coming to you live from New York. Today on the program, Donald Trump goes to China. He was greeted and feted and taken to a place rarely visited by outsiders. But what was accomplished? I'll give you my take and then get two very different perspectives. Plus, we'll take a detailed look at what war and inflation have done to the American economy. Jason Furman, former chair of the Council on Economic Advisors, will describe the challenge for the new Fed chairman. Also, Israel has achieved resounding military success in recent years, but it is losing the war of public opinion, according to recent polls in America. I'll explore with the Israeli-American scholar Omar Batrov. But first, here's my take. Regular viewers know that I have not been a fan of Donald Trump's foreign policy in his second term. From threatening to seize Greenland and annex Canada, unilaterally raising tariffs sky high, to the fiasco of the Iran war, Trump has been reckless, chaotic, and deeply destabilizing. But he might well turn out to have the right instincts and perhaps even the right policy in one crucial arena, the US-China relationship. In Trump's recent interactions with Xi Jinping, we saw a version of him rarely on display. He was respectful, almost deferential, eager to emphasize their personal rapport. Xi, by contrast, remained formal, disciplined, and never especially warm. The asymmetry was revealing. Donald Trump is obsessed with power. More than ideology or values, of course, he thinks in terms of leverage and dominance. He insults European allies because he understands how dependent they remain on American military protection and access to US markets. Trump senses weakness and exploits it. But with China, he has come to understand something that much of Washington still struggles to accept emotionally. Beijing has enormous strength of its own, economic, technological, industrial, even military, and can wield it effectively. So Trump has evolved from belligerence toward a more complicated mix of rivalry and cooperation. That may be what this relationship requires. Contrast Trump's visit with the first meeting of Biden officials with their Chinese counterparts in Anchorage in 2021. The Americans launched into a televised public scolding of China over human rights, cyber attacks, and the international order. China's diplomats responded angrily in kind. It was less a serious diplomatic exchange than a cable news shouting match. Many centrist Democrats live in fear of being portrayed as soft on China. So they often overcompensate rhetorically, adopting maximalist language and escalating symbolic confrontations. After showing skepticism toward Trump's China tariffs during the campaign, Joe Biden kept nearly all of them in place. Biden never visited China as president, nor did he invite Xi Jinping to Washington. The Biden team endorsed the claim leveled by the first Trump administration that China's actions in Xinjiang constituted genocide, a term that evokes industrial-scale extermination campaigns like the Holocaust or Rwanda. China's prison and re-education camps in Xinjiang are brutal and horrific, and dozens of scholars have called its actions against the Uyghurs a genocide. But as The Economist noted, it is not what most people think of when conjuring up the word genocide. Trump's superpower is that he cannot be attacked from the right. He came to power after the 2016 election, railing against Beijing, blaming it for lost manufacturing jobs, trade imbalances, and America's industrial decline. In a sense, the analogy is not Nixon going to China, but rather Ronald Reagan, the Uberhawk to the right of Nixon, going to the Soviet Union. Trump may be capable of a similar pivot precisely because his base will follow wherever he leads. One need only look at how quickly many MAGA figures reversed themselves on intervention in Iran once Trump signaled support for military action. Why would a more cooperative approach toward China make sense? Because the truth is that China is not the Soviet Union. The Soviet economy was smaller than Italy's by the end of the Cold War by one UN measure. China, by contrast, is the world's second largest economy, the leading trading partner for more than 120 countries, and a technological powerhouse in fields ranging from electric vehicles and batteries to drones, advanced manufacturing, and even artificial intelligence. It produces more manufacturing output than the United States, Japan, and Germany put together. Trying to launch a full-scale Cold War against such a country would not resemble the struggle against Moscow when the world was already divided. It would mean tearing apart the global economy itself. American consumers would face higher prices and supply shocks. US companies would lose access to one of the world's largest markets. Universities would lose many top students. The danger would not simply be economic pain. It would be the creation of two hostile technological and geopolitical blocs spiraling toward increasing confrontation. Of course, the US and China are rivals. That is unavoidable in a bipolar world. They will compete economically, militarily, and strategically for decades to come. But rivalry need not mean total rupture. In the weeks before he died, Henry Kissinger noted to me that leaders of both countries should keep in mind how, in 1914, nationalist competition, pursued with no concerns about its consequences, led to a world war that upended the entire global order. In an age of AI, cyber warfare, and nuclear weapons, maintaining channels of dialogue and cooperation is more important than ever. The two countries should compete fiercely while still trading, talking, and collaborating where possible on nuclear stability, AI safety, pandemics, and financial crises. During the Cold War, Washington and Moscow maintained arms control talks even at moments of intense hostility because both sides understood that unmanaged rivalry could end in catastrophe. That remains true today. And if Donald Trump, for reasons rooted less in philosophy than instinct, has come to recognize this basic reality, then on this issue at least, his pragmatism makes sense. Go to fareedzakaria.com for a link to my Washington Post column this week. And next on GPS, I'll talk more about the summit with two experts who have had very different views on the US-China relationship. Stay with us.
Oke, sampai di sini aja ya. Nggak mau terlalu lama. Aku juga mau ke kebun dulu ini ya. Aku mau ke kebun. Masih harus menyelesaikan itu. Selamat malam Indonesia.
Terima kasih sudah nonton video ini dan jangan lupa like, comment, share, dan subscribe.
Adios, my friend.